to participate that way. And this is our third and last session. And I want to again thank Susan Risno and the Adult Ed Committee for their wonderful programming. So Stacy, pass that on to Susan. She's the committee member that I see here.
I will.
And, thank you. And secondly, these are all recorded. Links, LINKS, links are part of the mystery of the internet. And sometimes there are glitches with links. As I like to say, glitch is a Yiddish word. It means slip or slippery. So never fear if the link doesn't work. We have Angie in the office who will fix it yet again, however many times is necessary. So right now, these can be found on the Shul Cloud storage that's on the Temple website, all of the Yiddish programming. I can send you the links to that. Ultimately, they will be stored on Temple Sinai's private YouTube channel, where you will no longer have a problem with links. So the sessions are recorded so that people can find material that they might have wanted to cover. And finally, before we get started, we're going to, from this day forward, have a Temple Sinai affinity group, Sinai Yiddish Circle. We have affinity groups at Temple Sinai, such as book clubs and hiking groups and just interest groups. So everyone is part of this. And as we move forward, we'll just continue to come up with interesting or fun programming over time, especially as we can return to more traditional kinds of being together, we pray. So you can look forward to that. If you have any thoughts about how you'd like to see that unfold or what kind of activities or programs, just shoot them our way, because this is very, very open-ended. So tonight our program is about music, Yiddish music, but music in that Ashkenazi culture. And I had emailed you a whole song list with song lyrics, which actually you would have to go a bit looking on the internet to get them all in one place. So that's a resource for you. They're all transliterated. If you think about it just for a minute, if someone's writing music, they're going to write it in transliteration because English goes left to right, sheet music goes left to right. So you would not find sheet music with Hebrew characters available to us. So that's why the transliteration is totally legit. So you have access to these songs, and we can get to some of them toward the end of the hour. But right now we have some, for your listening pleasure, some live music that people have joined us to share. Some of it with words, some of it just to experience the melodies. So it's our little mini concert and our little mini talent show. So we're kicking it off with Jay Schildkraut, who, as I said, is the leader of the Sinai Klezmer Band. And we owe having a klezmer band to Jay's initiative. And it's a very welcoming and fun group. And Jay, why don't you just tell us what you're going to play and anything else you want to say about it?
So I'll just say the title in English and I'll let Esther say it in Yiddish. It's called A Night in the Garden of Eden. So
A Nacht in Gan Eden.
Okay. And it's one of our favorite songs. It's a song that in the past, the klezmer band has played it many times, usually on violin. So we'll try it on clarinet today. See how it sounds. I'm going to just play a note to see if the volume is okay.
Great.
Ah. Thank you, Jay. Jay, speak to us. I'm checking the sound level.
Is the sound okay?
You faded in and out. We loved the song.
Uh,
The song was great. Thank you. It had basically several different parts. It was lively. I've never been sure why it's called A Night in the Garden of Eden.
we did some research to try to figure out where the song is from. As far as we can tell, it's just a folk song that's been around for a long time.
Yeah. Arnold had mentioned to us that he's heard this played on 78 records, right, Arnold?
Arnold, you muted.
Oh, yes, it goes back to very early, I would say the 1920s at least. And it's almost a typical type of klezmer tune. It belongs to be played by a klezmer musician and a klezmer band. It's klezmer, it's klezmerish.
Wonderful. So speaking of klezmer-ish, why don't we go from there? We have two other people for us. One is Henra with a song and Rivka with clarinet. Henra, do you want to go with the vocal to be the sandwich between the clarinets? Henry, you're muted. Henra, maybe we'll come back to Henra.
Thank you.
And ask Rivka to unmute. Rivka's going to do something fun. Let her tell you what she's doing.
Okay, so I'm doing a song that I think a lot of you know called My Yiddish Mama.
Oh,
And this song was written, the lyrics were written by Jack Yellen, who moved from Poland to Buffalo. So he was a neighbor. And he wrote this in I think about 1924. He wrote the lyrics. And the music was, let's see, the lyrics, Lou Pollack wrote the music. It was picked up in 1925 by Sophie Tucker after her mother died, and she recorded it and it became very famous. It's been sung by many people all over the world in many different languages. And it was very interesting. Esther asked me to read the Yiddish to you. but the translation of the words that most of us know in English have nothing to do with the Yiddish. They're very different. And I don't know how that happened. I've been researching it all day, but so, okay. So I will quickly read the Yiddish to you. You're not putting it up on the board, are you?
No,
Okay.
if you read and then just do your paraphrasing,
okay.
that would be great.
Yeah, and I'll translate the Yiddish. Ich will bei euch a kasche fragen, entweder wer es kann. So I want to ask you a question and answer if you can. Mit welchen Teile Vermögen bencht Gott allemen? So with what dear possession does God bless everybody? Men kauft das nicht für kein Geld. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, für kein Geld. So you can't buy it with an amount of money. Das kriegt man nur umsonst. We get it free of charge. Und doch als man verliert das, wie viel Tränen man vergisst. And if we lose it, a lot of tears we shed. A zweiten gibt man keinen nicht. You don't get a second one. Es hilft nicht kein Gewehen, no matter how much you cry out. Oh, der was hat verloren, der kann das verstehen. Those who have lost this, they understand. And then the chorus. A Yiddische Mama, es gibt kein besser auf der Welt. So the Yiddische Mama, there's no one better in the world. A Yiddische Mama, oi weh, wie bitter, wenn sie fällt. A Yiddische Mama, oi weh, I'm not translating that. How bitter when she's not there. Wie lichtig schön in Haus, wenn die Mama is da. So it's light and beautiful in the house when mother is there. Wie finster, umetig, wenn Gott nimmt auf Olam haba. So it's dark and sad when God takes her to the next world, when she dies, essentially. In Wasser, in fire, in water, in fire, wollt sie gelaufen für ihr Kind. She would run through that for her child. Nicht halten sich teuer, das ist gewinn die größte Sinn. To not hold her dear, that would be the greatest sin. Oi, wie glücklich und reich ist der Mensch, was hat a teure Mama. So how happy and rich is the person who has such a dear mother. Gebencht von Gott, blessed by God. Azan altichke teure Mama, Yiddische Mama mine. An old dear mother, my Yiddish Mama. Do you want me to read the lyrics as we sing them?
Yes, because
Okay.
they've been very much edited.
Yeah, right. So this you'll recognize. Of things I should be thankful for, I've had a goodly share. And as I sit here in the comfort of my cozy chair, my fancy takes me to a humble East Side tenement, 3 flights up in the rear to where my childhood days were spent. It wasn't much like paradise, but mid the dirt and all, there sat the sweetest angel, one that I fondly call my Yiddische Mama. I need her more than ever now. My Yiddische Mama, I'd like to kiss that wrinkled brow. I long to hold her hands once more as in days gone by, and ask her to forgive me for things I did that made her cry. How few were her pleasures. She never cared for fashion styles. Her jewels and her treasures, she found them in her baby's smiles. Oh, I know that I owe what I am today to that dear little lady so old and gray, to that wonderful Yiddish Mama of mine.
Wow. Okay,
And now
so
I will try to play this without squeaks.
all the way from Florida.
All the way from Florida. Okay. I got to get the music. I'll take my glasses off. Okay. Can you hear?
Yes.
Bravo.
Good.
Oh, thank you, Rivka. That's wonderful. A performance only for us. Thank you for taking the risk. Florida humidity wreaks havoc with clarinet reeds, right? You can never
Well,
tell.
I use a plastic reed now, so it's wonderful.
Ah,
Leger
ah.
plastic reeds. We're all using
Right.
them.
Interesting. So thank you for doing those lyrics. In the English, there was nothing about a mother, you're going to miss her when she's dead. Those Yiddish lyrics said, when God takes her, olam haba, the world to come. Olam, the world, haba, to come. And the English lyrics do not say anything about the mother going through in Wasser, in fire. Wollt sie gelaufen für ihr Kind. She would go through fire and water for her, flood and fire for her child. So the Yiddish is a little more, people often will say Yiddish has tom. Anyone know what the word tom means? It's a Hebrew word
Taste.
too. Taste, flavor, yeah. Because it's sort of quieted down for the English. So, and you haven't lived until you've heard Ray Charles covering this. As Rivka said, lots and lots of people. Neil Sedaka, very famous, done through the years. Anyone ever hear of the cantor Yossel Rosenblatt in the 1920s? Our cantor, Arnold has. He was, if I say the GOAT, G-O-A-T, you familiar with that? The greatest of all times as a cantor. You can find him on YouTube and singing the Yiddish words as a soloist.
The Barry
So-
sisters and Tom Jones also on this
Yeah,
paper.
yeah. As I've said, the nice thing about YouTube is you can just find it all in there. So now we're going to ask Kenra we just asked her this morning if she'd like to contribute to this, and she bravely said yes. So go for it, Henra.
Bravely is right. I found a book of music from the Yiddish theater. I happen to have it. I brought it up thanks to Rivka. Rivka suggested we play, well, it's a long story, but I found a lot of music when I was looking for something to play with Rivka. So the song is Mazel. Some of you probably know it. Mazel translates as good fortune. It was composed by Abraham Elstein and with lyrics by Molly Pecan, famous theater personality. And it was in the film called Mamala. So I don't know if I do want to do just going to sing the refrain. I'm not used to singing solo, so I think refrain will be sufficient. The Yiddish is Mazel es scheint amol far jeden nor nicht far mir. That translates as good fortune or Mazel. Sooner or later you shine on everyone, but not on me. Mazel du bringst de jeden Frieden, far was samst du mein Tier. And that is good fortune. You bring happiness to everyone. Why do you bypass my door? Oi, wie es tut bank jeder Show, das Leben vergeht, kein Hoffnung ist als nicht do. And that is, oh, how I long for you every hour. Life passes by and there's still no hope. This is a very upbeat song, isn't it? Oi, Mazel es scheint amol far jeden nor nicht far mir. Oh, good fortune, sooner or later you shine on everyone, but not on me. See if I could do it at all justice. Mazel es scheint amol far jeden nor nicht far mir. Mazel du bringst da jeden Frieden, far was samst du mein Tier. Oi, wie es tut uns jede Show, das Leben vergeht und kein Hoffnung ist als nicht do. Oi, Mazel, es schenkt amol für jeden nur nicht für mir.
Oh, brava.
Thank you.
Thank you, Henra. You are our very own Molly Pecan. Oh, my goodness. That's wonderful.
That's my first ever
Wonderful.
solo Yiddish singing.
And it was here. Wonderful. We have to say Shechianu now. So Molly Pecan was a very famous in the Yiddish theater and in film. Abraham Elstein was one of the big four Yiddish composers. This all preceded Broadway, direct precursor of Broadway. And how many of you remember Molly Pecan from TV series as time went on? She also acted in TV. Anyone? In the old days?
Broadway. She was on Broadway in Milk and Honey years ago too.
Right.
Yeah, interesting. So very, very successful, but goes way, way back. One of her more famous roles was called Yiddle Meet and Fiddle. I'm gonna mute them. Yiddle Meet and Fiddle. Anyone know the story of that? Yiddle Meet and Fiddle that Molly Pecan was in? Yiddle is a little Jew. We talked about that not being pejorative. Meet and Fiddle is with a fiddle. And it was a cross identity story. It was the Yiddish film industry was only a decade in the 30s in Poland, and it shut down promptly in 1939. People got trapped there. Much of the film, it's had a hard time surviving because of the Eastman House story, of the film being made out of celluloid and catching fire and deteriorating. But Yiddle Meet and Fiddle, she plays a fiddler with her father in a klezmer family band of traveling musicians. And she can't do that as a woman. This is very Yentl-like. She can't do that as a woman. So she disguises herself, picture Molly Pecan, who's this little petite thing with a cap, as a guy. And she promptly falls in love with a guy who's in another father-son klezmer band, and he doesn't know she's a woman. And it's a musical comedy. It's a great, great story. It ends up with the ship coming to America. It's quite an amazing story. Meanwhile, they save a bride from a arranged marriage, and then she falls in love with one of the other klezmer musicians. So that's the story of Molly Pecan, very, very successful. So Henra, thank you. And thank Rivka and Jay for sharing with us. That was delightful. Arnold, you're still hoarse?
I think I am. What do you think?
Oh, no.
Try it. Up to you.
Well, I'll start and you'll interrupt me. How does that sound?
Okay.
This is the story of a lady who gets into a relationship with what she ultimately realizes is a jerk, and it's not going to work out for her. And it's probably an experience that some of the ladies in our group must have had during their careers. And it starts off, she's happily going on a little walk. And so the line is, Geh ich mir spazieren, tra-la-la-la-la-la. Geh ich mir spazieren, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la. And as luck would have it, she encounters a young man. Vagegen nicha bocher, aha, aha. Vagegen nicha bocher, aha, aha. Now the song omits some of the lyrics that we have to put in ourselves, which are that he must chatter up a bit, do some sweet talking, which is in the male DNA to do, and have his way with her, because the very next thing we're told is that he's told her that he's going to take her as a wife. Sagt, wird mich nehmen, tralalalala. Sagt, wird mich nehmen, tralalalala. Now you notice he uses the verb nehmen, to take. He doesn't say, wir sollen reden zu machen a Shidach. He doesn't say, let's talk about getting married. Lass mir reden vom Chasana haben. It's like all the choices in his side. It's like the guys, the cowboys who said they're going to take a wife. It's like she has very little to say about it, which I don't think she cares for, to tell you the truth. And he does say, sagt, wird mich nehmen, tralalalala. Sagt, wird mich nehmen, tralalalala. Legt es op auf Zoomer, aha, aha. Legt es op auf Zoomer, aha, aha. He puts it off to the summertime. However, he's still maintaining the relationship, so he's getting some friends with benefits out of this in the meantime. It's a little naughty for us to reveal. Der Sommer ist gekommen, tralalalala. Der Sommer ist gekommen, tralalalala. Hat mich nicht genommen, aha, aha. Hat mich nicht genommen, aha, aha. He sort of forgot about this getting married stuff. He's happily enjoying what he has. However, their conversations must have gotten somewhat tight in the interim, an experience that a number of the ladies here must be aware of, because he does come around and sagt, wird mich nehmen, tralalalala. It sagt, dass wird mich nehmen, tralalalala. Jetzt will ich ihn nicht kennen, aha, aha. Jetzt will ich ihn nicht kennen, aha, aha. She doesn't need this jerk anymore. She's had it. That's the song. Thank you.
Thank you. Priceless. We love the running translation. Thank you.
Kind of you. Thank you.
Thank you. So it's been wonderful to have 4 people that we know and love take a risk to our very wonderful audience, who's, you know, the most supportive audience we could ever have and be, and share with you their special love for Yiddish music. So if there are questions or comments, we can entertain them, and our next agenda would be to go on with music, and I wouldn't ask people to sing individually or perform individually after professionals, but I want to go on to professionals now. And to do that, I'd have to screen share. And I want to play some selections from Fiddler, which I did for the Women's Havurah. And I'll make a very brief introduction before I do that, but I already started the screen share, so let me get that up here. Your view has changed. I think you may know the name Sholem Aleichem, who was a very famous Yiddish writer in the late 1800s, humorist. He was sometimes known as the Yiddish Mark Twain. He used to say that Mark Twain was the American Sholem Aleichem. That was his comeback. He wrote over a 20-year period these stories about Tevye the dairyman. There were numerous stories named mostly with the names of his various daughters. while they were humorous, the whole topic was fairly sad and grim in terms of his daughters finding other ways of life, the family splitting up, him having finally to leave not his village, not clear where he would be going, and his constant conversations with God as a simple man. So this was made, as you know, in 1964 into Fiddler on the Roof. We all know that story, put together by 4 Jewish men who were very assimilated, but nevertheless did the book and the lyrics, etc. It was then performed in 1965 in Israel, where it was titled in Hebrew, Kanar al Hagag, Fiddler on the Gag, the roof. And they say that 1/4 of the people, the population of Israel, saw that production. That's what the story is. As part of that same production, because the lead actor, Shmuel Rudinsky, had the skills, they decided they would also do a Yiddish version of that Fiddler on the Roof. And there was an original cast recording for both the Hebrew and the Yiddish, all in 1965, a year after it had debuted on Broadway. So I have some music from the Israeli production. As you may know, it was revived in New York City in 2018 and had a 1-year run with actors who mostly did not know any Yiddish, and being actors and in musical theater, they had 3 weeks and they learned it. And they did a very, very good job. It was slated, the Yiddish Fiddler production with subtitles. Everybody got it. There was no question that you didn't experience it fully in the Yiddish. And it was slated to tour all over. And then the pandemic hit. So at some point, theoretically, that will resume. But this is your opportunity to talking about Yiddish emerging in terms of our contemporary times. This is a major example of it. So I'll play 3 excerpts. The first one is L'chaim, and this is the Israeli production with Shmuel Rudinsky singing.
Verbroche und Atzloche, Verleben und Gesundheit, in a gute und a masselige Show, L'chaim, soll sein mit Glück, L'chaim, L'chaim, L'chaim soll sein, doch wir noch lebendig und freilich sein, wie am Ella sein, L'chaim soll sein, mit Glück, L'chaim, L'chaim, L'chaim soll sein. Das Leben ist am Mischmasch für uns, macht es bloß als von uns. Alle Chaim soll sein. Wer so macht, ob ich Hagecho, steht bei uns der Bossi, freuen wir sich doch. Besser statt zu sagen, Echo, macht man sich das Simche, will man Simples noch. Soll sein, blick wie, Lechaim. Lechaim, mein Tochter, mein Weib. Das ist ein Sibbe, hat Nacht zu tun. Chibe, ein Schnapp zu tun. Alle Chaim. Sag ein, Woche. So, Leser, was? Da langt alle mehr zu trinken. Was ist die Simche? Ich nehm mir eine Galle. Sevies älteste Tochter Zeyde.
I don't know how well you can hear from the main drive here, sort of, kind of. Yes, good. Okay.
Yeah, it was good.
That was understandable in terms of L'chaim, because L'chaim would be the same in, it comes directly from the Hebrew into the Yiddish and pronounced exactly the same kind of way, L'chaim. I have 2 more selections from it.
It was just a shell set.
I want to play you the song that's known as Tradition, but they actually don't use the word tradition. They use another word. See if you can hear it.
einer Amin Fiedler auf dem Dach. Was versucht durchskratzen, a Poschet nur harzig und nigen und doch nicht brechen dem Kopf. Und es ist nicht so leicht. Wird ihr doch mit Stome fragen, was bleiben wir da sitzen, ob die Sakon ist so groß? Ah, wir bleiben bei Lanatevki, unser Heim. Und wie so halten wir das Tag aus? Auf dem hab ich ein Entfer. Gott ist ein Vater und heilig ist sein Teure. Ja.
Whoop. So on that one, tradition, they did not use the word tradition on the chorus. Did you hear the word they used?
Torah.
Anyone?
Torah.
The
Torah.
Torah. And with that pronunciation, they would call it the Torah, because when Americans wrote this, they called it tradition. But when the very wonderful person who translated it into Hebrew thought about tradition, he said, wait a minute, what is tradition for Jews? It's the Torah. So they changed the song to make it more Jewish, more traditional in that way, the Torah. If you saw the Yiddish fiddler production, they had a very simple backdrop. It was a cloth and 4 Hebrew letters that said Torah. And that was the backdrop of the play. When they came to do this in 2018, the people producing it decided not to make the song the tradition de Torah. They decided, even though they had the Torah backdrop, they used the word traditia, which is a Yiddish cognate. It's a legitimate word, traditia, for tradition, but they made a more mainstream choice. So I want to play you one more thing, which is a very well-known song.
Rebbeinu Shalom hast doch beschaffen eine Welt mit Torme Leid. Und weiß ihr doch, es ist gar nicht geschandet zu sein an eurem Mann. Aber ein größer Covid ist es euch nicht. Ist was wohl schon gewesen so schlecht, wenn ich hab ja mein eigen Bissel Hab und Guts. Wenn ich bin ein Rothschild, oi didel, 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 dum. Ganze Tag wollt ihr sehr bitte bam. Wenn ihr bin ein reicher Mann, Hand in kaltem Wasser, nicht reingetan und digi, dum. Gewol gehad a Deidel Beitel Geld, und gewinn a Deidel Edelmann.
Okay, so it did not say if I were a rich man. Anyone? It said if I were
Rothschild.
a Rothschild. Yeah. So that was the original name, the original title of the story that Shalom Aleichem wrote. He wrote many, many stories that were often serialized in newspapers, and that's how he made his living. He wrote a humorous article about if I were a Rothschild, which is like saying if I were a Rockefeller, I would have all this, do all this. And so that was adapted in the United States to if I were a rich man. But when it got back to the Israeli translator, whose name was Shraga Friedman, and we should honor him because he had a very short but talented life. Shraga said, he went back to the original Shalom Aleichem and said, Binich Rothschild. If you remember that I said right after the Women's Havurah program in December, Jeopardy had a Yiddish theater category. Anyone remember that I mentioned that, or anybody watched Jeopardy? So one of the questions was, what famous song from Fiddler on the Roof, did not, I think they did say it, what was the original lyrics or title, or what story was If I Were a Rich Man based on? And one of the contestants knew If I Were a Rothschild, which is pretty impressive. Because that's just knowing a lot of obscure information unless you're a Yiddishist. You'll often find, this is a very good example in the Yiddish fiddler or Yiddish literature, that what we get in translation has been made a little bit more tame. And you saw that in Rivka's lyrics. Bowdlerized is another way of saying it. They take out references that are uniquely Jewish because, wanting popular appeal, they just tend to homogenize it. And so when you go back to a Yiddish original, you'll find that there's much richness there that is written for the in crowd, for us to gather. And how many of you heard the phrase lost in translation? It's no matter what language you're translating from into, there's a lot of sacrifices that have to be made for all kinds of reasons. So that's one of the fun things of reading the Bible in Hebrew, studying the Bible in Hebrew, or reading things in the original Yiddish. You also get just a different feel. So we're using words like tom, which is taste or flavor, and feel. They're very personal words. So we have about 10-15 minutes, and I can play you any of the songs that are on this song list. Before doing that, I wanted to ask if people you have to be brave here, there's only 30 of us, and we've already had people just take a chance. Does anyone have a song that either they'd like to share, a snippet of a melody, or a song that they're wondering what it is, and maybe if we all heard it, we could help you with? Because a lot of people have musical memories from earlier years that they remember somebody maybe singing. So just putting that out there. And I will wait a little amount of time. Rabbi Till did this, and she wanted some participation, and she said, you may not know it, but I spent a week in a silent meditation retreat, so I know how to wait for people to respond. So I'll wait one more in case anyone has anything to share. Marcia Elwitt, go.
Yeah, I remember something called Offen Pipitschik.
Okay.
And that's all I remember about it. But
we got it. And Saul has put in there, that may be Linda, Offen Pipitschik. Yeah, so we have those. Let's go with that, because that was certainly would have been my first choice. Offen Pipitschik is page 11 if you happen to have printed your, and it's, people either say it oifen or offen, depending on their pronunciation. It just means on. And a Pipitschik, anyone know what a Pipitschik is?
Is that the cradle?
The hearth, the hearth.
The hearth,
Oh.
yeah. Cradle is a good guess, Diane. And
Yeah.
I'm going to take a little diversion, because cradle in Yiddish is Wiegel, and goat is a seagull. And so many Yiddish lullabies, because goat and cradle happen to rhyme, talk about a Wiegele and a Ziegele. And that's actually a song, Raisins and Almonds, which is the other Rosenkesh mit Mandeln, which is another well-known song. But this is Oifen Pipitschik. And the song is by someone named Warshawski. He lived at the mid-1850s to early 1900s. And it was one of the most popular songs, which is why we still have access to it. the cooking stove, what they're setting up here is a vision of the little boys who were sent to school very young, to cheder, if that rings any bells, to study. And there was not a lot of money in these situations, so it was often cold and dark, and the fire was what kept them warm. And it's basically the rabbi is teaching the little children the alphabet, and how they studied the alphabet was that, you may not know it, but the vowels under the line of Hebrew, the aw sound is a comets, and the which we in Reform pronounce ah. So they would teach the kids comets aleph ah, comets bait, which is the second letter ba, comets gimel ga, comets daled da, comet. They would just by rote teach them the alphabet, how to read it, and the alphabet and pronunciation. So that comets aleph ah was repeating after the rabbi. That's how they would study. And so it's a very beautiful melody, a composed melody. And it has two really poignant lines that are in the later verses. One is that, little children, as you grow older, you will understand how many tears lie in these letters. How many tears lie in these letters, and how much lament, because there's many sad stories in the history of the Jewish people. But also, at the same time, may you, he says to the children, may you derive strength from these letters. So it's the story that is of our resilience at the same time. So there's a lot going on, and the words in Yiddish, since the song was written that way, they flow better and they're more expressive. So Saul is saying, is that Saul or Linda? Saul, I guess. His grandmother used to sing this with him. That's beautiful. So let me find out from Pripyat. It'll take me a bit. It's Linda saying it. Okay. Yiddish.
While you're looking, can I share a story, a fast story?
Please, please.
My aunt, Alav Shalom, developed dementia several years ago. She lived out of town, and I went to visit her, and she really didn't recognize anybody. She just was talking generically, hi, sweetheart, how's your face, that kind of stuff. Anyway, her kids said, don't be upset, Annette, if she can't relate to you or talk to you. And I said to her, Auntie Rose, do you want to sing some Yiddish songs? And she was totally blank. And I sat down with her and I started singing Life in Pripyat. And she knew all the verses. I only know the first verse, but she knew all, and she went on. And the kids were dumbfounded, because this is years ago when knowledge about dementia was just surfacing. Right. And she knew whatever song I touched on, she knew all of them. Yeah, and she didn't recognize her kids. So yeah. Wow. It was delightful. It was so moving. It was so moving.
Yes, that is a story. And when you hear the song, it supports the emotions. Let me see if I can play it for you.
Brennt der Feuer und in Stube und der Rebell kleine Kinderle, der Mann und der Rebell und kleine Kinderle, der Mann. Sehtje kinderlich, gedenkje Teiere, was ihr lernt. Sag je noch einmal und danke noch einmal. Kommt alle danke nach amor, komm jetzt alle vor.
I just want to do one thing. I know we have some Sinai old timers here. Show of hands, anyone remember Martha Rock Birnbaum?
Yes.
This is a concert David Kotak put me onto. This is her voice.
Euch in Pripyatschik brennt a Feuer und in Stub ist heiß. Und der Rebbe lernt kleine Kinder noch dem alle Fest. Und der Rebbe lernt kleine Kinder noch dem alle Fest.
Beautiful. That is beautiful.
Pause share. Let's see if, no, wait, I have to stop share. Yeah, so that was her voice, Martha Rock Birnbaum's voice from, who recorded a Yiddish concert that Monica, I think, told us about. So Marcia and then Leslie.
Yeah, that may have been Barbara DiCario on the harp.
Oh,
Yeah,
Now
Barbara
they perform together.
passed away
yeah,
in the past year.
Yeah.
She was a longtime Sinai member. I used to play at our high holiday
Yes.
services.
yes. That was a harp, yeah. And Leslie,
Oh, just two on your list that we sang when I grew up in Denver that we sang all the time in youth group were Tumbala Laika and Dona Dona. We sang those
Yeah.
year after year,
Yeah.
all the verses.
yeah. Let me play each of them briefly. I have Tumbala Laika is on your page 15 and Dona Dona is on page 6. Let's see. I'll play them both. If you may not have realized, some of you. Dona Dona was used in a Yiddish stage production with music composed by Shalom Secunda. So that's what I wanted to remind you of. I had told you that Shalom Secunda Nebuch, which means alas, sold the rights to Bamir Bis-Shane for $25. And then people made a fortune on it after he sold it, because he thought he was done with it and he needed the money. But he did also compose Dona Dona, and so that at least he had another success. So I'll play that for you. The Tumbalaika is folk. Degrina Kusina, yeah. So I'll play the two more, and then that will be our 8 o'clock break. And then if people want to stay on, I can play a few more for those of you who request it. But let me get back to screen share. Here's Dona Dona, which I think you know.
Auf dem Viertel liegt das gelbe Lick, gebunden mit das Strick. Hoch im Himmel flieht das Schwelbe, dreht sich hin und zurück. Ach, der Wind in Korn, lacht und lacht und lacht. Ach, der Rapporteur, der tanzt mit der halben Nacht.
Dona Dona.
Donna, 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 Donna. Donna, 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 Donna.
Okay, and Tumbalaika.
tumbalaika, tumbala, tumbala, tumbalaika. Balalaika, spiel balalaika, tumbalaika, veilig los.
Hey, yeah. Music is wonderful. So you can use your song list to find all this and more on YouTube to make it even more entertaining. So it is 8 o'clock. My clock has struck. And I think
No. It's her audio that's not working.
so. We wish you well. And if you stay on, some of us stay on another 10 minutes. I'll be happy to play any more songs. So you can just get that walk down memory lane for something that's in your head from times back. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Esther. It was great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
Annette.
so much.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Esther, it was a machaya.
Amachaya, thank you. Amachaya is something really
Special.
wonderful and special. Yeah. So any other requests?
Esther, it's Ellie. Bemir,
Yeah.
just the Shane.
Mir Bistu Shane, you got it.
Yeah.
Now, we can do the Berry sisters or the Andrews sisters. The Berry sisters, okay, RJ says the Berry sisters.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Bamir, because you haven't heard that as much. And it means by me, you're beautiful.
Will dir sagen, ich gleich zu Herren, als die sollst mir Liebe erklären. Wenn dir jetzt mit die Augen, wollt ich mit dir geflogen wie die willst. Sag mich nicht gern, wenn die hast a wissele Sechel. Und wenn die weißt ein arischen Schmechel. Wenn die Tanzgirl Indianer bist, a fila Galizianer, so gern hart mich nicht. Bei mir bist du schön, bei mir hast du kein, bei mir bist du einer auf der Welt. Bei mir bist du Kind, bei mir hast du it, bei mir bist du teure von Geld. Viel schöne Jüngler kommen, scheu gewohnt, nehmen mich und finden sie alle euch geklärt. Hab ich nur dich, bei mir bist du schön, bei mir hast du kein, bei mir bist du einer auf der Welt. Bei mir bist du schön.
Okay, it's hard to stop any of it. You just
I
want to go
know,
on
that was
forever.
That was awesome. Thank
Any
you.
other choices that you want here?
I had a
You-
Theodore Bickel record when I was growing up, and I just sang along everything there. And he had
Yes.
one that said, Die Mama ist gegangen in Matterei nach Köln, hat sie mir gebracht, a Mädel von Polen. Oh, ist das a Mädel, a schönes und a feins, mit die schwarze Haare lach, Ketzele, die meins. So I think the second line, she goes somewhere else to the market, but I don't remember that part. Maybe I still have that LP. I don't know.
Oh, it's wonderful, Diane. Thank you. Wow. Wow. It was about black hair. I caught that.
Right, and then the next one, she had white teeth, and the mother brought her.
Yeah.
The mother brought the girls back for her son. Right.
Interesting. Any last requests?
Yeah, the great Zina. The
Yeah,
great,
that's a fun one.
Yeah.
You're going right into a little controversy our Yiddish group is having. Die Grüne Cuisine on your, is page 4 or 5 of your list. It's a story. It's called A Disillusionment Song of the Immigrant Era. This was supposed to be the land of gold. And the newcomers, streets paved with gold, and the newcomers were called greenhorns. So the Grüne Cuisine is the greenhorn cousin. It was a composed song. And we're in a bit of a debate in our Yiddish group about the millinery store job that the Grüne Cuisine takes. So there's always controversy in Yiddish. So it's a lively song, but a sad story because this young woman's beauty is destroyed by her American way of life.
Schön wie Gold ist sie gewinnt die Grüne. Die Decke lacht wie rote Pomeranzen. Fisseler, was beten sich zum Tanzen. Die Decke lacht wie rote Pomeranzen. Und Fisseler, was beten sich zum Tanzen. Gegangen ist sie nur gespringen, nicht gerät hat sie nur gesingen. Freilach lustig ist gewinn ihr Miene, und das so gewinn ist mein Cousine. Freilach lustig ist gewinn ihr Miene, und das so gewinn ist mein Cousine.
So this apple cheek, cherry cheek young woman is, becomes haggard and pale. And at the end, she says, Brennan soll Columbus's Medina. Columbus's street paved with gold. Columbus's state should just burn. Immigrant disillusionment. You may not know these two, but they're lively, and I'm just going to play them quickly. This is a famous kind of cabaret kind of song. I just want you to hear it briefly. Ich bin a border by mein Weib, which is on 9:10. This is where they get divorced, but he stays on as a boarder with his wife, paying board. And the whole situation turns out to be a great improvement in all their relationships. So I'll just let you hear it briefly, but it's an example of popular entertainment.
Ich bin a border by my Weib. Oi Männer, ist das a teure Job? Sie attendet mich mit alles, wenn ich im Verzicht in Schales. Ich bin a border by my Weib. Ich bin a border by my Weib. Oi Männer, ist das a teure Job? Sie attendet mich mit alles, wenn ich im Verzicht in Schales. Ich bin a border by my Weib. Schön wie der Single wie ein Jingle. Mit mein Weibel hab ich sich gegett. Gedenkt hab ich zu muffen, sich zu schlucken. Hat mein Weibel mir geweggerät. Was darf sich glicken, in Fremder sich sticken und sein allein und reden zu der Welt. Weil du in der Ping wie früher, sei ab oder jetzt bei mir, wie ab oder zu hier gerannt.
So he's basically saying it's a tired job. It's a good deal I've got. I'm just paying rent.
A friend with no benefits.
Yes. It's on the edge of racy. And here's another one of these entertaining songs. I'm a Litvak and she's a Galitz. It's how two people have a conflict in their marriage.
From my wife I got such aggravation. She's driving me out from my wits. She's from a different denomination. I'm a Litvak and she's a Galit. We're happily married, I don't want to squawk. We understand each other completely, except when we talk. I say Mutter, sagt sie Mitte. Sis mir bitter, ich so Kutter, sagt sie Pitter. What's the difference, Mutter mit der Pitter? Oh, how I schwitz, cause I'm a Litvak and she's a Galitz. She's driving me crazy, but a marriage, such a glicken. She don't even know a chicken is a chicken. She keeps kicking how I'm speaking, says I put on the Ritz, cause I'm a Litvak and she's a Ganyan, yan, 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 yan. I love my darling, there is no one finer. In Minsk or Pinsk or even Carolina. But when I call her Shana, so she Shiner. As a modern Yiddish Redman got in China. So was Tegus, she says Teugus. Every time that I get Bregus, she gets Brogus. So was Tegus, Teugus, Bregus, Brogus, I'll call it quits. Cause I'm a Litvak and she's a Ganyan, yan, 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 yan. I say gay, Zoxy guy. I say stay, Zoxy stay. I say oi, Zoxy I, oi, vey, I, bye. But I ever get married.
Okay. You can't stop on a higher note than that.
It's very funny.
So Litvaks were from Lithuania, very serious-minded and had a certain pronunciation. Galicianers were from an area further south, Polish, were perhaps more fun-loving or casual. They're all, stereotypes. So that was a cabaret song. So I don't want to keep you anymore. It's 8:12. But if you do want to stay on, I can keep playing songs because I got them all here. You tell me.
Question, Esther. For number
Sure.
11, Open Pepper check. Martha Birnbaum from, do you know that she used to be our cantor many years ago?
Yes. Yes.
And so did she, why is her name there, I guess is the question. Why did she publish the Timeless Jewish Songs, or did she sing it?
Yes. David Kotak and I think Monica informed me that there was a program many years ago. So I just went looking on the internet and I purchased 4 of her cuts, which are here that you're hearing. And I believe they're with the harp that I think it was Marcia mentioned. Yeah.
Barbara.
Yeah. So I purchased them. Those are for sale on the internet as downloadable bits of music. You just go searching. I knew they existed because David had told me she had done a program and her accompanist for that program was Temple Sinai's accompanist at the time before Arena, if anyone remembers who that was. But that's not who's on these recordings, but
it was Helen Mercurio.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just don't recall. But these I just purchased because I thought it would be fun to have her voice.
Oh, I know. I was thinking if we ended up like that, it would be wonderful to hear. Her voice was so beautiful and she was so wonderful.
Yeah.
Loved her so much. Yeah, she was wonderful.
What else have I got here? Martha Rockbirnbaum.
Bay up there.
What happened to Martha?
And you've
Don't
got,
know.
oh, I love Rosenkismet mandolin.
Oh.
I love
We'll
that.
play
Bonnie
that
sings
too.
that all the time. Yeah, I love that one.
This is her singing De Rebbe Elimelech, which is a very funny song.
As der Rebbe Elimelech ist geworden sehr freilich, ist geworden sehr freilich, Elimelech hat euch getan mit Willen, noch die Fiddlers, die zwei. Und die Fiedelige Fiddlers haben Fiedelige Fiedelt, haben.
Okay, so it is with Barbara DiCario. My liner notes are telling me that, and the album was called Timeless Jewish Songs, and it's available on the internet. Now, the funny thing about that song, you probably thought it was very serious, what she was singing about. Do you know what the song is about? Rabbi
Isn't it
Elimelech?
about a rabbi making merry and having fun and
It's the old King Cole story. Old King Cole was a merry old soul. The Rebbe, he calls for his tumblers, he calls for his musicians, he calls for them all. It's sort of a old King Cole rabbi story. So she's singing it in a very serious way, but that is actually that story. Anything else that you see on this list, guys? Whoops.
Esther, I just want to ask, are you continuing after this week, or is that?
No, this is I just lost my share. Hang on. Whoops. Let me stop the share and I'll get you back and then I'll be able to get it back. No, this is our last week. So sorry. We will have other Yiddish programming that will be part of our affinity group, Sinai Yiddish Circle. Annette, you're welcome to join our Tuesday morning Zoom.
Thank you.
Which we read every Tuesday. We can also start something new if we want to do any kind of class or group. I'm open to anything that people might want to do. It just has to coalesce around something. Do you want to learn to read Yiddish? Do you want to learn to speak Yiddish? Do you want to just listen to things? So then the next step, is always a little more serious in terms of learning. I tried to make this fun and painless, and very engaging. But at some point, you can go down so many paths, depending on your interest and time. So I lost my screen share, so that's probably the end of the music, unless you want me to try to get it back if there's something that you want to hear that's on that list, because there's still 19 of you here.
Esther, we're going to say goodnight. It was very terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
The Russian Kismet Mondlan. Okay. That's raisins and almonds. You'll recognize this for sure. Page 14. Okay, so it's a very interesting song. It was written by Abraham Goldfaden, who was the father of Yiddish theater. And everybody thinks it's a folk song, but he actually composed it. And the very funny thing about this song is he put on a performance in 1880, which is very early. That's why he was the father of Yiddish theater. And the play was called Shulamitz, woman's name. And what happens is it's this whole very elaborate plot, but in the middle of the song, of the story, some character just comes out, stands on stage, sings this song, walks off stage, and the song just sort of is popped into the musical, and it's been beloved ever since. It's a little unnerving as a song if you look at the words, because it's about a goat and a cradle, and the goat has left, and the goat has gone handlin, out doing business, because handlin rhymes with mandlin, which is almonds. And I find it a little bit unnerving about who's watching that baby in the cradle, but that's just me. Any other, while we're here, there's still 10 of us, so anything else you want to hear? Whoops. I lost it again. Yidel Mitten Fiddle, or
Hallelujah is beautiful. Hallelujah.
oh, do you know what that is? That's Leonard Cohen's
Leonard Cohen.
so version of Hallelujah in Yiddish. Have people heard that?
So beautiful.
It's
Yeah.
so beautiful. I've seen it
In Yiddish.
Gorgeous.
This is a contemporary performer, Daniel Kahn.
Was David hat gespielt vor Gott, nur dir wollt's nicht gewähnt, als Yeshua. Und man singt so, a Fall, a Soul, a Mische Berech hebt a Kol, der Duller Melech, webt a Halleluja. Deine Munde ist geworden schwach, was Schäfer bot sich auf dem Dach, ihr Chein und die Levone, dein Refuhr. Und sie nimmt ein Guff, sie nimmt ein Kopf, sie schneit von deiner Haare Zopp und zieht von Mäul herab, Halleluja. Oh Teil, ich kenn den Stil, ich bin geschlafen auf dein Deal, ich hab keinmal nicht gelebt mit Ersatzruhe. Und ich seh dein Schluss, ich seh dein Fond, a Herz ist nicht kein Melechs Thron, es ist a kalte und a kalle Halleluja.
So the words in Yiddish are absolutely beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Anything else?
You can YouTube him too. I've seen it.
Yes,
on YouTube.
yes.
It's so,
Wonderful on
so
YouTube. Yeah.
beautiful. So beautiful. Oh my
He
God.
performed in Yiddish Fiddler for a while. He's a world traveling musician who's gotten into Yiddish singing. See if you recognize this. Everybody's favorite sing-along. We're all brothers. Okay.
Beautiful. Loved. Oh,
You guys?
unfortunately, we had a last minute rain meeting, and so I missed all this, but it was great being
It's
with you.
all going to be recorded. I will send everybody the links.
Yeah,
And
thank you so much.
anything in that playlist, you have a playlist that you can look at as a PDF or print out. You have words. Just go to YouTube and oh my gosh, it's all there with performances. You can download music. Just remember one thing, Yiddish words are what whoever wanted them to be. They're changeable. So if it doesn't match, not to worry. It's just many verses. But Olive Breeder is sort of a fun folklore song from perhaps left-wing political circles. We're all brothers. And then people would make up words. We're all sisters. We're all Democrats. We're all Temple Sinai, whatever, we're all whatevers. And they would rhyme. So that was part of the fun. So this is our culture. So I'm totally open to any ways you'd like to continue. We can do more Zooms. We would just need a specific program idea that you're really interested in. Do you want to learn to read? Do you want to talk about certain topics? It would have to be focused. We can do songs and learn songs. I mean, there's a million and one things that can be done. And there's plenty of people in our community, as you can see, who, are thrilled to be involved and help, national treasures, so to speak. So
thank you.
Seid gesund.